Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I would like to share a few points about my grandfather, Chaudhry Abdullah Zahiruddin Lal Mia, because I'm very happy that you've taken an interest in his life and his activities and his works, and you have such a fascination for the fact that he made a house in Islamabad, which happens to be the very first residential building in Islamabad, and you are doing so much wonderful research about it. So therefore, and I'm very happy that you wanted to know more information about my grandfather and the work that he did and his achievements and contributions to the development of this entire subcontinent and Pakistan in particular. So I'm going to give a little bit of a synopsis of his life, and I will do it in reverse chronology. I will first give a little bit introduction about his family and other prominent people in his family and the roles that they had in shaping the history of the subcontinent. And after that, I will go into talking about some of the achievements that he had as a minister, in the role of a minister, and then various things that he did and accomplished before he was minister. And then finally, I will go back to the time of the British era and many of his amazing achievements and accomplishments in that era as well, before the formation of Pakistan. So I have divided the narration into several segments, and I'm about to start. So I will have points here so that I can make best use of time. So you will find me glancing at the screen so that I don't necessarily miss any points that I would like to share with you. So I think at the very beginning we need to introduce him by his full name. Lal Mia's full name was Chaudhry Abdullah Zahiruddin Lal Mia after 1952. Up to that time his name was Chaudhry Muazzam Hussain Lal Mia. In 1952 he went to perform his pilgrimage, the Hajj, and for whatever reason he wanted to sort of start his life anew, and therefore he also thought of giving himself a new name as well, and therefore the name was changed from Chaudhry Muazzam Hussain Lal Mia to Chaudhry Abdullah Zahiruddin Lal Mia. He was the son of Chaudhry Moizuddin Bishash, and he was also the grandson of Chaudhry Mukimuddin Bishash, and they were very big zamindars of Faridpur. In fact, this was one of the largest zamindari estates of undivided Bengal, and in fact, it ranked among the top 1% of estates, including the 526, the principalities that were there. So, including the 526 principalities, the top 1% estates of undivided India of the British Raj. So, the Chaudhry Moizuddin estate was a very large estate. And this family, it actually traces its origins from the early 1600s in Bangladesh. Like the family migrated from northern India into Bangladesh as Jagirdar of the Mughal Empire, and they moved in from 1630, and the entire northern part of the greater Faridpur district was called Fatehabad at the time, and the family got the Jagirdari responsibility from the Mughal Empire. And later on in the 1790s, the British Empire at that time, the East India Company, they divided that entire Jagirdari up into lots of segments, and those segments were auctioned out to many others, and that gave the rise to different zamindari estates. And one of those zamindari estates was bought back into the family by Chaudhry Moizuddin's grandfather. But Chaudhry Moizuddin actually came out of that estate and created his estate independently. And Lal Mia was the eldest son of Chaudhry Moizuddin. So that's a little bit about the family background. You might be interested also to know that Lal Mia's younger brother, Mohan Mia, he was also a very prominent politician. He was in the Legislative Assembly of Bengal, representing Muslim League from 1936 onwards, and he also won state level elections many a times across the 1940s and 1950s and 1960s as well. Probably he only may have suffered one defeat in the entire about a 40 years career, and he was a very close aide and comrade of A.K. Fazlul Haq, and he also helped with the Pakistan Declaration. He was present at the time when the Lahore Resolution Act was read out, And in the committee meetings that led up to the formation of that declaration, and even in the choosing of the name of Pakistan, so Mohan Mia had an involvement in all of those. And he was also called the kingmaker of Bengal because he used to often literally dictate or largely influence who would become minister, who would become member of parliament. And in 1954, he had played a massive role in the state election that had happened, and all the people that he had nominated and helped had actually won the massive election, creating a whole new generation of politicians, because most of the people that he had selected were people who didn't have much political experience before that. So therefore, Mohan Mia was called the kingmaker of Bengal. So he was Lal Mia's younger brother, and the youngest of three brothers was Tara Mia, Chaudhry Inayat Hussain Tara Mia. Mohan Mia's name was Chaudhry Yusuf Ali Mohan Mia, and the youngest brother is Chaudhry Inayat Hussain Tara Mia. He had concentrated his political activities more within the country and at the district level, and he held various positions like chairman of the district council, executive committee member of the district council, municipality chairman, etc., for about 40 years. And then in the mid 1960s, from 1965 to 69, he was also a member of Central Legislative Assembly of Pakistan from another constituency, and he also represented Pakistan in the negotiations that Pakistan had with Russia, directly with President Khrushchev. So he did represent Pakistan in very critical discussions that Pakistan had in formation of certain ties and certain bilateral treaties with Russia. So he was a committee member of that. So as you can see, that the family was very prominent and very much connected with politics. And I want to also say that Chaudhry Moizuddin Bishash, he was someone also very deeply connected with direct constitutional politics, aside from being a Zamindar. He was, in fact, one of the founders of the All Indian Congress Party. He was a patron of the All India Congress Party from 1885, and he was one of the founders of the People's Association of Faridpur from 1883, which is considered to be the first formal political party of East Bengal. And in addition to all of these things, he also had a huge contribution in rallying forces against colonial rule in the 1957 Sipai Revolution. And he was also a great promoter of the Anti-Indigo Act, and he also participated actively in the Anti-Indigo Revolution of 1859 and 1860. So the family definitely has had a lot of integral involvement with politics of the subcontinent and the shaping of history for a long, long time. So, moving on to the major achievements of Lal Mia during his time as the central cabinet minister for three portfolios: health, labor, and social welfare. So his tenure of ministership was from 1963 to 1967 for about 5 years, and he held, as I said, three portfolios. But he had a lot of contribution in sectors that went beyond just these three sectors as well. So the major activities and contributions in the health sector is that he established the diabetic hospital in Murree, and also the Diabetic Association in Dhaka, which has now become one of the largest hospitals of Bangladesh, which is known as Burden. And he also established the Tuberculosis Research Hospital, one in Karachi and another same institution in Dhaka as well. And he legitimized homeopathy and the study of homeopathy medicine as well across Pakistan, and therefore he helped legitimize the profession of hundreds of thousands of homeopathy practitioners and paved the way for creation of homeopathy hospitals, and millions of people who practiced homeopathy and who got benefited from homeopathy medicine. So that was a major contribution to the health sector of Pakistan, all over Pakistan, including East and the West. And then in terms of labor and social welfare, he helped establish the labor export treaties with Sweden, Finland, Russia, USA, and Italy from all provinces of Pakistan. He was actually the main person who signed up the labor movement treaties with these countries, and he can be credited with the starting of the flow of immigrants and people who went seeking work in all these countries. And therefore, he is indirectly, I would say, responsible for the tremendous amount of remittance that came into Pakistan, both the East and the West, from these countries, not only during those years, but subsequent years and decades as well. He helped the establishment of the minimum wage for laborers, and he was also the one who actually helped to create the labor law, and he set the standards of labor rights for various, laborers from various sectors as well. He also helped to set up the tax exemption laws for people who were sending in the remittance as well. So I would say that he played a very massive role in industrialization by setting the standards for how labor is to be treated, how labor is to be utilized and capitalized upon for the industrial growth of Pakistan. He was also, in terms of social development, he can be given a lot of credits because he advocated for the federal system of governance, and he was actually one of the proponents of giving autonomy not only to East Pakistan, who was demanding autonomy, but also to other provinces as well. And he always advocated for this because he said that this would help actually preserve harmony across the country, and it would also give a lot more of a boost in efficient governance rather than trying to control every minor aspect of the entire country. So he was very far-sighted, and he definitely tried to be a proponent for progress. Mm, He's had a lot of contributions in the realm of infrastructure. He helped establish the Jhelum Dam project with fund mobilization from the Italian government. He had very good relations with the Italian government, and therefore he played an instrumental part in mobilizing funding for the creation of the Jhelum Dam, and also in mobilizing funding for creation of many other dam projects in East Pakistan. It also contributed to the creation of the Kaptai Dam as well, which actually majorly contributed for electricity, hydroelectric power production in East Pakistan. He contributed heavily in the formation of the Grand Trunk Road between Dhaka to Jessore, which actually became the major highway that is connecting Dhaka to Jessore. And he played a very big role in getting Dhaka to be declared as the second capital. As a result of that, there was massive infrastructural development in Dhaka in the 1960s, and he was definitely one of the persons who lobbied the most for creating Dhaka as the second capital. He also developed several dozen flood relief centers and several dozen cyclone centers all over East Pakistan, and also some in certain parts of West Pakistan as well. And that got him a lot of popularity among the general people. In terms of education, he helped establish the Jahangirnagar University, very near to Dhaka, and he also helped establish a lot of schools all across what is Bangladesh now, also in West Pakistan. He was also the chairman of the Scouts Association of Pakistan, and he promoted scouting across all students of Pakistan of both sides, and he also introduced many scholarship programs. In the realm of sports, he was a tremendous promoter of hockey across Pakistan, and really promoted hockey not just in Faridpur but between all the districts of East Pakistan, and definitely mobilized a lot of programs, events, and tournaments between East Pakistan and West Pakistan as well. In terms of religion, and that kind of goes under the social welfare, he established two institutes, one in Islamabad, well, three actually, one in Islamabad, one in Karachi, one in Dhaka. And the name of that institute was Islamic Research and Anti Superstition Promotion Center. So that's also very interesting. He would bring in a lot of scholars for talking about Islam, modernizing the religion, and encouraging people to engage in conversation, ask questions, and he organized numerous events in West Pakistan and East Pakistan promoting the modernization of religious thinking. So these were some of the things that he did in between 1963 to 1967 during the time that he was minister. But it's only a fraction of the things that he did. Throughout his life. So I want to talk a little bit about the things that Lal Mia did in the days that preceded him becoming a minister. So Lamia was a person who helped in selecting and grooming and mentoring all the Muslim League candidates of the very famous 1946 elections, which paved the formation of Pakistan. And because people that he chose and helped, almost all of them won in that massive 1946 election. Something very similar to what his brother did in the mid 1950s. He had done that earlier in 1946. And as a result of that, there were many newspapers that described him with the term silent architect of independence. He himself also won that election as well, representing Greater Faridpur to the Central Parliament of India. And he actually helped almost more than 100 other candidates from West Bengal and East Bengal to prepare for the election and financially also mentoring. And in many ways, he was actually the person responsible also for the campaigning of for Muslim League in the 1946 elections. So that was a massive contribution that he had for the creation of Pakistan and the independence of Pakistan. Um, Now let's talk about his election history. Lal Mia, as I said, won the 1946 elections to the Central Legislative Assembly of India, representing the Muslim League from the Greater Faridpur region. He again won after naturally the country became independent. There was by the way, that's my cat over there. Let me introduce him as well. Oh, he's gone away now. My little tiger. So so the 1947, just after independence, there was the first Constituent Assembly of Pakistan, and Lal Mia won that election. And then again in 1951, there was the second Constituent Assembly of Pakistan formed, and Lal Mia won that election and was a part of the second Constituent Assembly as well. And after that, he took a break from politics between 1952 to 1961. And from 1962, he came back. He won the National Assembly elections from Greater Faridpur. And he had the highest percentage of votes in any constituency. So that was quite a record. It was almost like he was uncontested. So that was his sort of political election history from 1946 onwards. I haven't started yet talking about all the major accomplishments he had before 1946. So in the years between 1946 onwards, Lal Mia was president of the Governor Nomination Council and also of several other parliamentary committees. So he was the person who used to select the provincial governors, and sometimes we know that he even cancelled certain governorships as well because of conducts which were not up to the ethical standards that were required. And he was also the chief whip from 1962 onwards, and he was also chairman of the Education Board of Pakistan across the 1950s and 60s. He was also chairman of the Film Censor Board of Pakistan in the late 1940s, and he was also the director of the Industrial Commission of Pakistan, and he himself had also established a massive sugar mill. So these were some of his major accomplishments, I would say, from 1946 onwards. And prior to that, now coming to the years before the independence of Pakistan, Lal Mia started politics from 1918. He was born in 1903, so he was only 14 years old when he started active politics. And he joined the All Indian Congress Party, and he became a very active member of the Khilafat movement, which was a movement opposing the British deposition of the Ottomans in Turkey. He started publishing many articles against the colonial rule, and for that he went to prison in 1919 when he was only 15 years old. And starting from that point onwards till 1947, he went to prison a total of 16 times for an entire duration of 5 years for his various anti colonial movement activities. He became a Central Executive Committee member of Congress from 1920, and he became a very important member of the Central Executive Committee of the All Indian Congress from such a young age. He became the municipal vice chairman of Faridpur in 1921, and he went on to become the municipal chairman for 20 years from 1924 onwards. He was a district council member and then district council chairman as well for a total of 19 years. So that's local politics. And he became a member of the Upper Legislative Council of Undivided Bengal from 1932 to 1936, representing Congress, from 1936 to 41, representing Congress, and 41 to 43, representing Congress, and from 1943 to 46 from Muslim League, and from 46 to 47 again from Muslim League. He basically switched over from Congress to Muslim League in 1943. And he was also the representative of Greater Faridpur to the Central Indian Parliament from 1936 to 42, and later from 43 to 47. He was also the head of the Executive Committee of Congress and Muslim League Collaboration Joint Task Force from 1928, and he was actually one of the persons who initiated the formation of this task force in 1927. The reason for that was because prior to that, Muslim League was actually trying to work for the betterment of Muslims in both the eastern provinces and the western provinces where the Muslim population was high, but they were not directly asking for independence initially. They were thinking that maybe it would be possible to form sort of a collaborative movement along with the British government and help the development and emancipation for the Muslim population that had been left behind in the train of development that had gone forward. But then actually Lal Mia was one of the persons among a team of several others who helped to convince the Muslim League leadership that Muslim League also needs to support the independence movement that Congress was actually taking forward at that time very aggressively. So, and it was from the formation of this joint task force that actually momentum started coming in towards the formation of independent Pakistan and independent India. So definitely Lal Mia also had a pretty big role to play in that. And then he was head of the Congress Committee of East Bengal from 1924 onwards. So he was actually leading most of the Congress activities in East Bengal from 1924. He was the chair of the All Indian Nationalist Muslims movement from 1931. So he helped to mobilize all the Muslim leaders, those who were in Congress mainly, also people who were not in politics, also people who were in Muslim League, and he started forming, that was also actually largely spurred by Gandhi to involve more Muslims into the independence movement. So Lal Mia actually organized two massive conferences for this purpose, and that gained him a lot of popularity in the Muslim community and the Muslim leadership across India. Another tremendous achievement of Lal Mia during this time was the fact that he went and convinced more than 100 of the Nawabs and Maharajas of North India, and many who fell into what is Pakistan today, and convinced them to come into the anti-colonial movement and sign up their support for the formation of India, and later on for Pakistan as well. So because somehow it was considered that he would be a good person, also maybe coming in from an aristocratic background, to negotiate with all these principalities and come and welcome them into the Union, as it was called at that time, the Indian Union. So during the 1930s, Lal Mia actually made a huge contribution in convincing the principalities to come into the independence movement of India and Pakistan. Now, coming further on, Lal Mia was also the chair of the East Bengal wing of Non-Cooperation Movement of 1932, Quit India Movement of 1942, and the Khadi Movement of 1933, working directly in very close communication with Gandhi. Lal Mia was also helping Neta Subhash Chandra Bose with his movements and activities, and also supplied soldiers into the Azad Hind force as well. Lal Mia was also the chairman of East Bengal Farmers Association. He was also the chairman of the Students' Union of Beheli, Assam. He was also the chairman of Murshidabad Youth Movement. All of these are in the early 1930s. And later, Lalmia was also the chairman and the founder of the Bengal Anti Famine and Rehabilitation Committee of 1943, and also the general secretary of the and the founder of Bengal Anti Riot and Rehabilitation Committee and Council in 1946. Lalmia organized many conferences for mobilizing support against the colonial occupation. So he was a major architect of the anti-colonial movement. So he organized two conferences of All Indian Literary Conference, where he promoted the idea of promoting independence through literature. He organized two All Indian Science and Technology Conferences to promote the concept that if we involve and incorporate more science and technology in our work and everything that we do in agriculture, then we can move forward as a nation, and then we are not going to require so much of support from the West. And then he also organized two massive conferences for farmers' rights, massive conferences for social reform, and two massive conferences for establishment and promotion of democracy. And he was also the one who started the movement for the removal of black hole conspiracy from the textbooks, and was successfully able to do that between 1941 and 1943. So this is a gist of Lal Mia, but we keep on finding out more and more information about him. There's no end to talking about the achievements of Lal Mia. He lived for a short number of years, actually, from 1903 to 1967. He died when he was 63 years old, and in this time he didn't even work for 10 years. He took a break from everything, in which time he was actually writing poetry and doing a lot of Islamic research and meditation, and he was also writing a lot of essays about spiritualism. So he was not even actively involved in work and politics, and yet he has been able to do all of this in a time when there was no social media, in a time when communication was so difficult, commuting from place to place was so difficult. So he was actually really a very inspirational personality. And when I talk about him, I do not talk about him taking pride in him being my ancestor and me being his grandson. Rather, I like to promote his work and his activities as someone who deserves to be appreciated, as someone who deserves to be admired and followed, someone who is an inspiration for everyone. So that is what I had to also share about Lal Mia with you, because I think it is good if you know more about this person that you're already so much fascinated about. So without further ado, and I've taken up a lot of your time, I will now conclude. But thank you so much for your interest about Lal Mia and his work and his life and his activities, and it gives me great pleasure to be able to narrate about him to you. And I hope that you can actually make a publication in which you talk about all of these things that he has done, in addition to talking about the house that he made over there in Islamabad. And I will definitely provide you with all this information, so that you can actually use it as a reference when you're writing your article. Thank you. Thank you so much. Signing out.